Welcome to another episode of the Blemished Beauty Podcast. This podcast was designed with you in mind. If you're ready to erase the norm and embrace the truth, come pull up a chair, grab a journal, and tell a friend that your favorite Jersey girl is back with another episode. So let's get into it.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Blemished Beauty Podcast. And I'm your host, your favorite Jersey girl, Shira Renee. And we are still in season 4. We are still talking about survivor stories. And this is your trigger warning. This episode will be tackling domestic violence. And for those of you who have listened to some of my previous episodes, you know that I too am a domestic violence survivor. So in honor of the month of October, we celebrate or bring awareness to the survivors of domestic violence along with breast cancer and a couple of other things that we're going to talk about later on in the month. But today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Miss Mia Hanks, and she is an author and also a survivor of domestic violence. So after her interlude, I will bring her to the stage and we're going to have a conversation. Hey, Mia, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. For those people who don't know you, give people, just a little brief description of who you are and what you do, and then get into your journey with domestic violence.
Okay. So I'm Mia Hanks, and I'm a survivor of narcissistic abuse. I was married to a covert narcissist for 29 years. And I, in the last few years, have found my way out, untangled from that. And I've been healing and really finding myself again. And now I'm kind of on this journey of raising awareness about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. And I just want to help other victims out there find their voices. This is a complicated situation, complicated subject. And yeah, I'm just wanting to raise awareness about this. There's a lot going on out there with narcissism, and there are a lot of victims, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, first, let me commend you for being a survivor and coming out, because a lot of people, women especially, have lost their lives being in these type of relationships. So I am truly happy and thankful that you are here to tell your story and to bring awareness to domestic violence and narcissism. What were some of the early signs for you to let you know that this wasn't, because you've been with this person for 29 years? So what was some of the early signs, if you can recall, where you figured, okay, this is not a place where I need to be. This is not the relationship for me.
I think the earliest sign that I noticed, I was very young when I got married, and so I think that I didn't trust my own instincts so much. I had never been around anybody who was narcissistic, anybody with narcissistic personality disorder. And so I kind of, it was that just being uneducated about this disorder in general. I took these little, what I now know are red flags, but I just wrote them off as personality quirks, and just thought, well, everyone has their issues, and he has his issues. But getting back to the question, the first sign that I noticed that I really didn't like was my husband's lack of empathy. He didn't just have low empathy; he really had no empathy, and
Right.
it became evident to me early that he really just could not empathize with anyone who was hurting. Um, And so, yeah, definitely a red flag. But again, I wanted this marriage to work. I wanted to just write it off as a personality quirk. And I was young and I just didn't know any better. And so that's exactly what I did. And those little quote unquote quirks just multiply and grow. And when you don't, when you're not paying attention, it really just spins out of control.
Yeah. I definitely can relate to that, especially when you are crying or you're expressing to your spouse something that's devastating happening to you, and they're looking at you like you just didn't express the most hurtful thing possible. It's like you're talking to like a brick wall, like the response is so cold, or there's no response at all. Or they'll say something demeaning like, what are you crying about that for? Or there's no compassion when you are expressing yourself. So I definitely understand that and I get that. Do you feel like there was effects to your mental as well as your physical health staying the time frame that you stayed?
Definitely. Um, I kind of lived in this environment where most people that live with a narcissist could relate to this, but you find yourself walking on eggshells all the time. You don't want to trigger them.
Hmm.
I just wanted to keep the peace. So what I didn't realize really from even the early days of my marriage, I was putting myself under a lot of stress because I
Hmm.
was constantly worried about what will his reaction be? What will he say about this? What will he think about this? Um, so over time, that stress really builds in your body, and it had a huge effect on me, both mentally. I after many years, I was so broken down mentally. Um, but as bad as that was, I was experiencing physical symptoms as well, and it was from all that stress. You I think a lot of people could understand that it causes headaches, it causes stomach
Yeah.
ache, it causes
Hmm.
pain. So stress can really do crazy things to your body, not to mention just the sleep deprivation that I was kind of living with too. So definitely mental and um, physical symptoms for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of I'm a visual person. So for me, it's kind of like being with someone of that, character. It's like walking around, like you said, on eggshells, but also like walking on an invisible minefield. And you
Right.
don't know where these minefields are, and you're just walking blindly. And at any moment, you could step on a landmine and it just blows up. And living your life like that is so heavy. And you don't know it in the beginning, but over time, you just start to get real heavy. Like in my situation, I thought I did a good job at hiding that I was okay or I wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And my son, he came to me and I'll never forget. And he was like, Mom, are you good? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. He was like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And I'm like, why you say that? And he was like, because you're a totally different person. You're always tired. You're
Yeah.
not smiling. You're not bubbly. He was
That
like,
was
you're just,
me.
yeah, like you're just a and it's like, it's draining, like, over time. It's like you're in a car and you're just riding, and then you never stop for gas or anything to fill you up. You're just riding, and you're slowly getting drained until you have nothing left and you just can't go anymore. And it's like it's the worst feeling. And even after leaving, mentally it still bothers you, because I was in my situation for about maybe 7 years. So I can only imagine mentally for you after 29, do you still deal with um like sometimes like the reaction? Well, I know you guys are not in contact, but
Right.
like do you still feel the heaviness, or how are you now after leaving?
I would say most of that heaviness is gone, but it was a very unusual, or just a very strange transition between, after I left, really just waking up in that first week or so, and realizing I am completely free to do whatever I want today. I can decide how I'm going to spend my day, who I'm going to talk to, what I'm going to eat, where I'm going to go, when I'm going to sleep. It was like going from being 100% controlled to 100% free. So it was overwhelming, really, at first. You just can't believe after that many years, oh my gosh, I have all this freedom and I don't even know what to do with it. So overwhelming and exciting at the same time. But it was a huge shift, like you say, you have that heaviness all the time walking around worried about what somebody's reaction is going to be. Um, and it is exhausting. It will just mentally drain you. I found myself, being with a narcissist, you tend to pour your whole being into them, and so when you finally get out of these relationships, you don't have the first clue who you are because
Yeah.
your identity has been swallowed up by them. So it's a journey, of finding out who you are and what you want to do with your life, because I really didn't know, and I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, it definitely is a journey. And it's like the moment that you are free and you're on your own, it's like being a butterfly in a jar
Yeah.
and the lid on it, and the butterfly just keeps flying up and it keeps hitting its head.
Yes.
And after a while, it just stops trying to escape because it's realized that it's trapped. And then you open the lid and the butterfly is still in that low position because it's so used to being trapped. And then
Yeah.
it's like once it emerges from the lid and finds out that it can actually fly, it probably forgot that it even had wings at one point because they
Yeah.
weren't able to use those wings, right? So it's definitely like, whoa, like I get to do this. Like I get to, and you walk around the house and you're waiting to hear, this person and this attitude. And then you're like, I'm good. I don't know if you ever seen Home Alone. Have you ever seen the
Yeah.
movie Home Alone?
Yeah.
Okay, so when Kevin he goes downstairs and he does the laundry and he gets scared of the dryer or the heater
Yes.
or whatever it is, and then it's like after a while he's like, I'm not afraid anymore, and then it's like
Exactly. Yeah.
the feeling. It's like you can really feel the change, the shift inside of you, and it's like a light, like a light switch flicks on, where it's like, I don't have to be afraid anymore. I can actually walk around and do what it is that I want to do. But now that I got the chance to do that, what do I want to do?
Yeah,
So,
you gotta figure that out. And,
yeah.
with narcissists, the other issue there is that, um, they try to keep you, they want you dependent on them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so they condition you. I was conditioned my whole marriage to believe that I couldn't do things on my own. I couldn't make it on my own. I wasn't capable. I wasn't smart. I just didn't have the skills. He was the
Yeah.
smart one. He was the one that, the only one capable of doing anything. Um, and so, it's a little scary too, because when you do break free, you do have to ask yourself, wait a minute, can I do this?
Yeah.
Am I capable of this? So definitely have to rebuild some of that confidence that the narcissist just zaps from you.
Yeah. You are absolutely right. They put you in a position where you have to be dependent. And it's overwhelming because it's like now you have to do everything on your own and you're so used to it being done for you, and everything comes with the price. So like if you are in a situation where you're married and say you weren't working and you have this husband who is a narcissist who's paid for you to do any and everything, on the
Right.
outside looking in, that might look like the perfect, situation. You get to stay home and raise the kids and it must be nice. But then at the end of the day, this person comes home and complains about what you cooked, or complains that the house isn't clean to their par. It's clean, but it's not clean to their part. Like it's always something. Nothing is free. You're going to have to pay for something some type of way.
Right.
And
And
it
nothing's ever enough for them. They cannot,
nothing.
there's nothing you can do. You know, it's always, well, that could have been a little bit better. And so you really do kind of get down on yourself and think, well, I guess I really, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not that capable. And after years and years and years, you know, you do believe this crazy stuff. Um,
Hmm.
and it puts you in a position where you're not sure if you can leave, you know.
Yeah.
They really do want to keep you dependent, because as long as you're dependent on them, they have control over you. And of
Power. Yeah.
course, the narcissist, that's the name of the game, is complete control.
Right. So when you did, what was the breaking point for you to say, okay, after 29 years, what was it that made you say, today is the day I'm done?
I think the last couple years, you know, were just terrible. I mean, my physical health, I could feel it deteriorating. You know, I knew that it wasn't sustainable and that something needed to change. But you know, the problem was I didn't know what was wrong with him. Um, you know, I just didn't. I didn't have a name for it, and so I just couldn't justify leaving, because I think I was looking for permission. I was looking for somebody to tell me this is what's wrong with him. Um, and I just didn't have the word for that. But one night I was scrolling through social media. I think I was on Instagram, and I just ran across a random post, and it was talking about true intimacy. And it said that true intimacy isn't necessarily physical. It's more about being able to look at your partner and say, I feel safe with you. And
Mm,
for whatever reason, that little blurb there on Instagram, it just hit me. And I thought, you know, I've never felt safe. Um, and that's what really prompted me to just get on the internet and start Googling things like toxic relationships and taking these online quizzes and is my relationship toxic? And all of this led me to discover narcissism. And in my case, covert narcissism. And when I found that, and you know, my husband is a textbook covert narcissist. And it was just like all the pieces fell into place. I finally had a name for what I had been dealing with. And that was
right.
really the beginning of my journey to say, I need to get out. And of course, leaving a narcissist is no easy feat. But that was
Yeah.
the beginning of me saying, I think I can't stay here anymore.
Yeah. You have to be really, really strategic because it is all about survival. And the thing about narcissists, especially those kind, they're all the same. Like
All the
you, it's never like a difference in characteristic. You know how they say, well, everybody's not the same.
no,
That
they're
type of
the same.
personality
Yeah.
is the same. And that's the same thing that happened to me. I was on TikTok one day, and it's this guy who is a narcissist, and he's bringing awareness to
I know
people
who you're talking
about
about. Yes.
the black guy with the dreads, right?
Yes. Yes. I know
Yes.
exactly what you're talking
And
about. Yes.
and when I saw his content, I was like, wow. And I'm like you, like I'm looking, I'm like, okay, I'm trying because, at this time, this is my second marriage. I am not trying to get divorced by this man. Like, I'm trying to stick and stay because I got a divorce once already. I'm not trying to be another, I didn't want that. So I tried my best to stay, but then it was like, the more I started to listen to his content, the more I started to fuel myself and be like, this is really who I'm dealing with. And then
Yeah.
I started to dive in a little more into his content and really, like you said, research. I was like, oh no, I got to go because you might not be able to escape. So I prayed because I'm a very spiritual person, and I prayed. I said, God, if you give me a window, I'm flying out of here, and I'm not gonna ever ever look back, because when you get into those arguments and different things like that, you get the world when it's makeup time. You get gifts and the shoulda coulda wouldas and all the nice words, and they reel you back in, and then it's something worse. The next offense is
It
something
is.
worse.
It's just a vicious cycle, and I
Mhm.
think that and it works for a while, and I think a lot of women especially will say, well, you know, he was nice today, and if I just stay a little bit longer, maybe it
Mhm.
will get better. And I think
Yeah.
one thing people need to know about narcissists, and you're right, they are all alike, completely alike. It will not get better.
Mm.
Narcissists get worse with age. And so it's just, it's a sad fact, but they are not going to get better. You're not going to, the relationship's not going to get better. I mean, I'm not saying every relationship in the world out there, maybe some have been salvageable, but for the most part, it's just not going to get better. And you really do need to get out while you can.
Yeah, because I could just imagine like sitting here thinking about the lives that have been lost due to domestic violence, and those women just trying to love the hell out of somebody,
Right.
literally,
And it just
and
doesn't work.
praying that, okay, well, maybe if I just love on him a little longer, or give him this baby, or marry him, and I just, because that was my mental, I was just like, I got this story about how the family just did him any old kind of way, and all these exes did this and did that. And I'm just like, I would never do that to you. I love you. And you just sit there and you want to just love on a person and pour and pour and pour. And all they doing is taking, taking, taking. And
Yeah.
you just becoming empty, like a
Yeah.
shell of yourself, to the point where you're a walking skeleton. Like you don't even recognize your own reflection in the mirror. And if you get the opportunity to crawl out, because some people don't even walk out, like you have to literally
Right.
crawl.
Yeah.
If you get that opportunity to crawl out, do it, because there is so much waiting for you on the other side, but we get so focused on the fear because they've groomed us from the beginning, and they've placed that fear on the inside of us that something is going to happen, or this, that, and the third, because they know that if we tap into the power that we have and who we are as women and individuals, and it would be a wrap, because they fuel off of power, and
Yes,
they
that's
use
right.
the power to, put fear into us. And if they don't have that, they don't have no control. They'll be like little, like putty in your hands, because
Yeah.
they will have a tantrum and all kinds of stuff, because that's what they fuel off. Once they know they no longer have power, they'll move on to the next person.
Right, exactly. And and once they find out that you in fact are leaving, um they expect that tantrum, because you have, in their mind, you have wronged them, and that's just
Yeah.
not on their agenda. You don't tell them no. They always get their way, and suddenly they're not getting their way. And so you have to prepare for that. You have to prepare for the storm that's coming. Um, but and it is scary. It really is. And I think a lot of people in these relationships, it's not uncommon to have been in them for a long time. And I
Right.
think a lot of women, at some point say, I've been here for so long, I just don't think I can ever untangle from it. But you can. You absolutely can. But you have to expect the tantrum that's coming. Um,
Hmm.
but even so, life is so much better on the other side of this. It's not
Yes.
too late, and you're not stuck. And I think that's what a message that a lot of people in these relationships need to hear. It's not too late to get out, and you're not stuck. You can always find a way out.
So, what did you do for you in regards to getting yourself strong again, mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically? I mean, everything across the board, because they pick you apart.
They do.
So
Yeah.
what did you do? What are some steps, for someone who is like maybe watching this or listening to this? What were some steps for you to start your healing journey? What did you do to kind of get yourself back to a place of wholeness?
I think therapy is always a good place to start. Um, but you can't depend on therapy solely,
Mhm.
it is a great starting point to kind of get you on the right track. I was in therapy for about a year, and
Mhm.
definitely, yeah, it was great. It was a good experience. Um, and I think also finding a support system, and it doesn't have to be a whole bunch of people. It can just be a few people. But finding that support system of people who will be there for you emotionally, and people who believe you. That's another problem you run into with narcissism.
Yeah.
um, with covert narcs. They've shown this false persona to the outside world for so long. They come across as the good guy. They're so wonderful. They're the best husband, the best father. That's not true, but that's what everybody believes.
Yeah.
So it can be hard to find that group of people who are willing to believe you and support you. But definitely find a few people that will be in your corner with you. And you just really have to be patient with yourself, I think. You can't expect to just wake up one day and, oh, I feel great and I feel like I did before I ever got into this marriage. That's not going to happen. Because there's a lot of psychological damage, and a lot of
Yes.
things that you have to untangle. So patience for sure, therapy, and a good support system.
Yeah. So now I want you to take this time to bring awareness to narcissism and domestic violence and give someone some advice on just taking that step to leave, letting them know that it's possible because they're about to be in the fight of their life.
Yeah.
And like you said, if you're not girded up or you're not surrounded by people who believe you, people who are going to back you, you can it's like that movie Enough with
Yes.
Jennifer Lopez.
Yes.
That is literally what it's like being married or being with a narcissist. You have to prepare yourself for the fight of your life because you're going to stand like that guy that was in her head and he was like, just as sure as he's a coward, he's going to kick you when you're down. And you have to do all the work in your solo time to prep you for this one-on-one because it's going down. So I want you to give the listeners and the viewers, be that guy that was like for Jennifer Lopez, letting them know how they can get themselves ready and prepare for this fight, because I know after hearing this, people are going to take this opportunity to use this as a step forward to take the leap of faith to move forward and leave their situation. So just give them that advice and then tell the people where they can find you, support you, get your book, and all of that.
Yeah. So I heard a statistic that it, on average, it takes a victim 7 times to leave an abuser. But with a narcissist, you can't do the 7 times. You just can't do it. Once you make that decision to leave, you need to decide ahead of time. I'm going to leave and I'm not coming back. They have tactics to try to get you to come back, but you really do have to be strong and make that decision before you step out the door that this is it and I'm not coming back. Um, an advice I would give would be you need to do some preparation. You need to start collecting some money, stashing some money aside. You've got to have money to leave. You need to retrieve your important documents, and you need to make sure that you identify some type of support system, somewhere that you can go, people that you can be with that will support you and stand by you. So those are, those are the tips I would give anybody who is contemplating leaving a narcissist. You really do need to be on the top of your game. You need to be prepared, and you need to decide definitively that you are leaving and you are not coming back. No second chances with a narcissist. So yeah, that would be my spiel. And I guess I would end by saying, please don't ever, think that it's too late, or you've been married to this person too long, or that you're stuck, because there are resources out there, and there's most definitely help. And as far as where you can find me, I have a website. It's miajhanks.com. And then you can also connect with me on TikTok. I try to post a lot of content on there about narcissism and just a lot of tips and just educating people about narcissistic personality disorder. And my TikTok handle is at NPD, which stands for Narcissistic Personality Disorder, at NPD and me. So definitely follow me on TikTok. And yeah, you can get my book through my website. It will link you to Amazon, where you can purchase my book, Bridemaid. And yeah, I just hope I can help other victims out there start to find their voices.
I want to thank you for coming on and just telling your story and bringing awareness. Once again, I am truly, truly happy and thankful, grateful that you are here to tell your story, because a lot of people are not. And it was an honor and a pleasure to have this conversation with you. So I thank you for coming on here
Thank you.
Giving your story to my listeners.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you take this episode as confirmation that you can do it. You can leave. Don't let the next time be the next time. Take the steps to leave now, because you might not get a next time. Every single opportunity you give your abuser to reel you back in, the next time will always be worse than the last. So, as always, I want you to know that you are graced and gifted for a time such as this. You have purpose in this world, and you have been created to do great and amazing things. So until next time, talk to you guys later.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and don't forget to leave a review. You can follow Shira on all major platforms and on YouTube at Shira Renee 510. Until next time, spread love, show grace, and shine bright.